Welcome back to the channel where we dismantle the illusions of the toxic mind and expose the brutal reality behind the mask. Today, we are looking at the invoice. We are looking at the final bill that sits on the kitchen table of every aging somatic narcissist. For decades, they lived as if the laws of emotional gravity did not apply to them. They treated lust like a credit card with no limit, spending bodies, hearts, and souls to purchase a fleeting sense of superiority. But the bill has finally arrived, and the price is higher than they ever imagined. We are discussing why the free sex and the endless conquests have transformed them into the most miserable creatures on earth. You remember them in their prime. They walked into a room and the energy shifted. They were the hunters, the seducers, the ones who could have anyone they wanted with a mere glance. They used this sexual power to weaponize your insecurity, making you feel lucky just to be chosen by them. They made you compete for their attention, triangulating you with strangers, exes, and shadows. They convinced you that their wandering eye was just a symptom of their high value. But time is the great equalizer, and it strips the narcissist of their only defense, their beauty. Imagine a person whose entire identity is built on being wanted. Now, imagine that person becoming invisible. This is the hell of the aging narcissist. They walk down the street, and heads no longer turn. They smile at a stranger, and instead of a flirtatious return, they get a polite nod reserved for the elderly. This silence screams at them. It tells them that their currency, their physical appeal, has crashed. They are experiencing a stock market crash of the ego, and they have no savings account of character to fall back on. The misery they feel is specific and agonizing. It is the misery of a drug addict who can no longer find a vein. Their addiction was never really sex, their addiction was external validation through conquest. Sex was just the delivery system. Now that the delivery system is broken, rusted by age, softened by time, they are going through a permanent, excruciating withdrawal. They are irritable, bitter, and hollow, lashing out at a world that has dared to stop applauding. They often try to maintain the facade, and it is tragic to witness. You see them dressing in clothes 3 decades too young, dyeing their hair until it looks like shoe polish, and using slang that sounds absurd coming from their mouths. They are desperately trying to signal to the world, I am still in the game. But the world sees a caricature. The cool guy has become the creepy old man. The femme fatale has become the desperate matriarch. They have become the very thing they mocked in their youth. The price of lust is isolation. Because they viewed every interaction as a transaction, what can your body do for my ego? They never built genuine intimacy. They have a contact list filled with hundreds of names, but not a single person who knows their soul. When they get sick, who is there? The one-night stands are gone. The affair partners have moved on. They are left alone in a house full of mirrors, forcing them to look at the decay of the only thing they ever loved, themselves. You might wonder if they reflect on their behavior. Do they regret the cheating? Do they regret the families they destroyed? The answer is a chilling no. They regret getting old. They regret that the game is over. Their misery is not born of conscience, it is born of entitlement. They feel entitled to eternal youth and eternal adoration. They view their aging process not as biology, but as an injustice inflicted upon them by a cruel universe. They are the victims of time. This is where the anger sets in. The aging narcissist is a cauldron of simmering rage. They hate the young for having what they lost. They hate their spouses, if they haven't discarded them, for witnessing their decline. They hate themselves, though they will never admit it. This rage leaks out in every conversation. They become the grumpy, critical, impossible-to-please elder who poisons every family gathering. They want everyone else to be as miserable as they are because misery loves company, but the narcissist demands it. The haunting question for the survivor is often, are they happier with the new supply? Let me assure you, if they have managed to trap a new supply in their twilight years, it is a relationship built on coercion and commerce. They are likely paying for it, literally or figuratively. They are buying companionship because they can no longer attract it organically. And they hate every second of it. They resent having to pay for what used to be free. It reminds them of their powerlessness every single day. We are about to dissect the anatomy of this collapse. We are going to look at the biological panic, the social suicide, and the final, lonely outcome of a life lived without love. You need to see this not to pity them, but to understand that justice has been served. You didn't need to take revenge. You just needed to wait. The price of their lust was their soul, and now, the collection agency of life has come to repossess the house. To understand their torment, you must understand the somatic mindset. For this type of narcissist, the body is God. It is their temple, their weapon, and their bank vault. They invested everything into the surface. They spent decades ignoring their intellect, their empathy, and their spiritual growth to focus entirely on their abs, their hair, or their seductive prowess. When age hits, it is biological bankruptcy. Their assets are frozen. They are left with a depreciating asset that demands more maintenance for diminishing returns. This leads to a profound body dysmorphia in reverse. They refuse to see reality. They look in the mirror and hallucinate the 25-year-old version of themselves. But when they step outside, the world treats them like a 60 or 70-year-old. This cognitive dissonance creates a psychotic break. They cannot reconcile their internal image of a god with the external reality of a mortal, aging human. They feel like a king who has been deposed and thrown into the gutter, yet they still wear the imaginary crown. Their libido often remains high, which is part of the curse. The biological drive for sex, the hunger, remains, but the ability to secure high-quality supply vanishes. This is a torture specific to them. They are starving at a banquet where they are no longer allowed to eat. This frustration manifests as perversion or high-risk behavior. They might turn to darker corners of the internet, paid escorts, or inappropriate advances toward people who are disturbingly young, simply to feel a spark of the old power. We must analyze the dopamine crash. For years, the thrill of the chase provided massive spikes of dopamine. The secrecy, the lying, the seduction, it was a chemical high. Now that the chase is over, their brain is in a permanent state of dopamine depletion. They experience anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure in normal things. A sunset means nothing. A grandchild's laugh means nothing. A good meal means nothing. Unless they are being sexually validated, they feel dead inside. The objectification they inflicted on others turns inward. They taught themselves that human value is skin deep. Now, by their own logic, they are worthless. They judge themselves with the same brutal, superficial standards they use to judge you. They loathe their own wrinkles. They are disgusted by their own weakness. They are trapped in a cage with their harshest critic, their own internalized superficiality. This is why you see the desperate medical interventions. The plastic surgeries, the hair transplants, the obsession with supplements. They are trying to patch the Titanic with chewing gum. It looks uncanny and desperate. It signals to everyone that they are terrified of death. A healthy adult accepts aging with grace. A narcissist fights it with a scalpel, carving their insecurity into their own flesh for the world to see. The hollow core becomes undeniable. In their youth, the noise of their sex life drowned out the echo of their emptiness. There was always a text to answer, a date to plan, a lie to cover up. Now, the noise has stopped. The silence reveals that there is nobody home. They have no hobbies because hobbies require passion. They have no wisdom because wisdom requires self-reflection. They are bored to death by their own company. Their relationship with time becomes adversarial. They live entirely in the past. They become the glory days narrator, cornering anyone who will listen to tell exaggerated stories of their sexual conquests from 1995. It is pathetic. They are trying to prove they were someone, because they know they are no one right now. They are ghosts haunting their own history, refusing to inhabit the present moment. The fear of irrelevance is their primary phobia. To a narcissist, being hated is better than being ignored. But old age brings indifference. Society doesn't hate the elderly, it largely ignores them. This indifference feels like a slow-motion assassination to the narcissist. They act out to get attention, faking illnesses, starting family drama, being difficult, because negative attention is the only supply they can still harvest. This chapter confirms that their lifestyle was a Ponzi scheme. They borrowed happiness from their future to pay for pleasure in the past. Now the scheme has collapsed. There are no new investors. The vault is empty. And they are left holding a bag of dust, wondering why the world has stopped buying what they are selling. The dramatic turning point occurs when the narcissist shifts from being a danger to being a nuisance. In the past, they were dangerous because they could break your heart. Now, they are just annoying. The power dynamic flips. They are no longer the ones discarding people, they are being discarded by society. The waiter ignores them. The cashier is impatient. The potential lovers swipe left without a second thought. They have become background noise. This shift triggers a narcissistic injury that never heals. They lash out. You will see them becoming litigious, angry, and demanding. They scream at service workers. They write furious letters to the editor. They are trying to assert dominance in a world that has stopped fearing them. They are like a lion with no teeth, roaring at the wind, looking foolish rather than ferocious. The free sex era ends, and the pay-to-play era begins. This is humiliating for them. They realize that the only way to get intimacy is to open their wallet. Whether it's dating someone who clearly only wants their pension, or literally hiring professionals, the transaction is naked. They can no longer delude themselves that it is love or passion. It is a business deal. And in this deal, they are the sucker. This is when they start hoovering the graveyard. They reach out to you, the ex from 10 or 20 years ago. They send the thinking of you text. They are not thinking of you, they are scrolling through their Rolodex of victims, looking for anyone who hasn't blocked them yet. They are hoping you are desperate enough or nostalgic enough to let them back in. When you ignore them, it shatters them. It confirms their irrelevance. They become prone to romance scams. The predator becomes the prey. Because they are so desperate for validation, they will believe the 25-year-old model online who says she loves them. They want to believe the lie so badly that they ignore the red flags. They get fleeced out of their retirement savings by a bot or a scammer, all because their ego refused to accept that a young beauty wouldn't want a bitter senior citizen. Their envy of the young turns into sabotage. If they have children, they compete with them. A narcissistic mother might try to dress like her daughter or flirt with her daughter's boyfriend. A narcissistic father might demean his son's success. It is grotesque. They cannot stand to see the torch being passed. They want to extinguish the torch if they cannot hold it. They would rather destroy their legacy than admit they are no longer the star. The secret life becomes harder to hide. As their cognitive faculties decline, they get sloppy. They leave the phone unlocked. They forget to delete the browsing history. The depravity of their mind is exposed to their family. The shame of this exposure is immense. The respectable elder mask falls off, revealing the perverted addict underneath. They lose the one thing they crave most, respect. They experience resource guarding. Because they can no longer attract people with charm, they use money as a weapon. They threaten to write children out of the will. They use their assets to hold the family hostage. If you don't visit me, you get nothing. It is the last desperate claw of control. They know you don't want to be there, so they have to bribe you. The grumpy tyrant persona solidifies. They realize they can't be loved, so they choose to be feared, or at least, dreaded. They make every holiday miserable. They criticize the food, the gifts, the conversation. They suck the oxygen out of the room. This is a defense mechanism. If they reject everything first, you can't reject them. They are preemptively firing everyone before they can be fired. The turning point is the realization that they are alone in a crowded room. Even if family is present out of obligation, there is no warmth. The narcissist feels the coldness. They see the glances people exchange when they start talking. They know they are tolerated, not celebrated. And for a narcissist, being merely tolerated is a fate worse than death. Now we witness the total collapse. The empire they built on seduction and lies crumbles into dust. The first pillar to fall is usually health. When a narcissist gets sick, they are the world's worst patients. They view illness as a weakness, a flaw in their perfection. They rage against the dying of the light. They abuse the nurses, they ignore the doctors, and they demand special treatment that doesn't exist. They are terrified of mortality because they have no spiritual anchor. The social circle evaporates. Their friends were never real friends, they were drinking buddies, wingmen, or shallow admirers. Those people are gone. They are either dead, moved on, or tired of the drama. The narcissist has no ride-or-die companions because they never rode for anyone else. They sit in their house, surrounded by silence, checking a phone that never rings. Financial ruin often follows the price of lust. They spent a lifetime spending money on clothes, cars, affairs, and divorces. They didn't plan for a lonely old age. They assumed they would always have a partner to mooch off of. Now, they are facing a fixed income and a lifestyle they can't sustain. The poverty is not just financial, it is a poverty of dignity. They have to ask for help, and they hate it. They become energy vampires of the worst kind. If they manage to trap a listener, a caregiver, a neighbor, a trapped relative, they will talk for hours about themselves. They drain the life out of anyone nearby. They complain, they gossip, they rewrite history. They are desperate to prove they exist by making noise. People start physically avoiding them. You see neighbors ducking inside when they see the narcissist coming. The smear campaigns lose their power. In the past, they could ruin your reputation. Now, no one listens to the crazy old person ranting about their evil ex from 1999. Their malice looks pathetic. They have lost their credibility. The audience sees a bitter, sad individual, and the lies no longer stick. The weapon they use to control you has rusted shut. They are haunted by what ifs, but selfishly. They don't think, what if I had been kinder? They think, what if I had chosen the richer partner? What if I hadn't gotten caught? They are trapped in a loop of regret over lost opportunities for exploitation. They relitigate their divorces in their mind, convinced they were robbed, never realizing they were the robber. The final discard happens to them. The ultimate discard is death, but before that, it is the discard by the family. Adult children go no contact. Grandchildren are kept away. The narcissist is left to rot in a facility or a lonely apartment. This is not cruelty, it is self-preservation by the survivors. The narcissist views this as abandonment, refusing to see the decades of abuse that led to this moment. They sink into paranoia. Isolated and angry, they start to believe the world is conspiring against them. They think the nurses are stealing from them. They think their kids are waiting for them to die. Because they projected malice onto everyone their whole life, they now assume malice is coming for them. They live in a fortress of fear. The mask is gone. In the final stages, the charm is completely eroded. What is left is the raw, unfiltered disorder. The cruelty is naked. The selfishness is absolute. There is no longer any attempt to hide who they are. They are pure ID, screaming I want into the void. It is a grotesque sight, confirming to everyone that there was never a good side to them, only a good disguise. The collapse ends with them becoming a prisoner of their own mind. They are trapped with the memories of a life wasted on shallow pursuits. They have no happy memories of connection, only memories of conquest. And conquests do not keep you warm at night when the darkness closes in. We have reached the final truth. The narcissist's life was a bad investment. They bet everything on the physical, the temporary, and the superficial. They short-sold their soul for a quick profit of pleasure. Now, the market has corrected. You, the survivor, might have felt like you lost years to them. But look at where you are now. You are growing. You are healing. You have the capacity for depth. They are stagnant, rotting in the shallow water. This is the definition of poetic justice. You don't need to slash their tires or expose them on social media. Life has exposed them. Their punishment is to be them. Their punishment is to wake up every morning in a body they hate, with a mind that cannot love, in a house that is empty. That is a sentence harsher than anything you could inflict. You were the supply that got away. By leaving, or by being discarded and rebuilding, you escaped the Titanic. If you had stayed, you would be their nursemaid, their punching bag, the target of their bitter rage. You dodged a bullet. The pain of the breakup was actually the pain of the surgery to remove a tumor. You are cancer-free now. Radical acceptance is your superpower. Accept that they are miserable. Accept that they will never change. Accept that their happiness on social media is a lie. Happy people don't need to broadcast. Miserable people need to perform. Do not envy the performance. Pity the backstage reality. Do not fall for the pity hoovers. If they reach out now, playing the frail old victim, remember the wolf. The wolf has lost its teeth, but it hasn't lost its nature. If you put your hand in the cage, they will still try to bite. Keep the door locked. Your empathy is for people who deserve it, not for parasites who starved you. Reframing the price. The price they paid for their lust was everything that matters. They bought sex but lost love. They bought attention but lost respect. They bought moments but lost a lifetime. You have the opportunity to build what they threw away. You can have the connection, the peace, the legacy. You are the rich one. Your aging process will be beautiful. Because you have a soul, you will age into wisdom. Your wrinkles will be map lines of a life lived with emotion, not masks. You will be surrounded by people who love you for your heart, not your utility. The narcissist fades, the empath evolves. Let go of the need for an apology. You will never get it. An apology requires a conscience. Instead, give yourself the closure of knowing the truth. They are living in their own private hell. You don't need to visit them there. You have your own heaven to build. Walk away from the wreckage. Do not look back. There is nothing there but dust and echoes. You have survived the storm. You have learned the secret knowledge. You are stronger, wiser, and free. The curse belongs to them. The future belongs to you. The price of lust is a life that ends in zero. The narcissist is mathematically bankrupt. But you? You are infinite. You are real. You are whole. Close the book on their story and start writing the beautiful chapters of your own. Stay strong, stay no contact, and keep walking toward the light.